It pays to try and see both sides of an argument, to consider all points of view before reaching a conclusion. But every now and again, a politician does something that is so self-damaging, so moronic, so naive, so lacking in self-interest, that you have to call it out for what it is. Dumb. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Chagos deal that the government has signed with Mauritius. Now, given that the deal was signed about 8 months ago, back in May of 2025, why am I talking about this now? Well, it's hit the news again for a couple of reasons. Firstly, Donald Trump has decided to weigh in, describing it as a stupid deal. The House of Lords are unhappy, and they have done everything they can short of failing to ratify it as it goes through Parliament. Every politician of every stripe pretty much is jumping on saying what a bad deal it is. I can't find a commentator in the public sphere that says it's a good one. If you know of any, please send me the link, because I can't find one. And it now appears that it may well be that this deal puts us in contravention of existing agreements international groups you signed on defence. And much of the media is saying that this is going to be Labour's 14th, 15th, depending how you count it, U-turn since it came to office a year and a half ago. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Chagos Islands are a tiny, tiny archipelago in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And if you care to find them, they're about 500 miles south of the Maldives and about 2,000 miles northeast of Mauritius. And the deal that the government has signed but not yet ratified hands over sovereignty of these islands to Mauritius, who've long claimed them, pays them over £100 million a year for the next 99 years, and to save doing the maths, that's over £10 billion, for the right to use an island and a military base that we already own and have already built. And in this dangerous world, in this world where hard power matters, and Trump's shown us that more than anything else, that is a stupid deal by any measure. So how did we get here? Why is it important? And what's going to happen next? So to start with, the Tories opened up negotiations with Mauritius when they were in power. No one, I don't believe, seriously thought that it would result in handing over sovereignty, but it was a way of pushing back, delaying a decision, and maybe being able to reach accommodation. But Labour, when they came to power, ran with it, and ignoring those people who told them it was a bad idea, signed it anyway. Makes me question what the civil service were up to. Surely they would have been able to tell the government that it was in contravention of existing treaties and was not in the national interest. So maybe the civil service should take some blame, or maybe they did tell Starmer and the other ministers and they ignored them and did it anyway. So why on earth did the government sign this deal? Well, an international court said they should, even though that judgment was non-binding. And there is a strand that runs through progressive politics and the left, which says Britain needs to be guilty for every single thing it did in its colonial past, it needs to make reparations, and by default, Britain is always in the wrong. And that means that whenever something comes on like this, they automatically find in favour of the other party and give up Britain's national interest. Now, if politicians want to feel guilty about Britain's colonial past, feel free, but please don't drag the rest of us into it. Feel guilty on your own time and on your own dollar, to borrow a phrase. So why are the Chagos Islands important? Well, they sit slap bang in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and they are a major point for projecting force around the entire Indian basin, and for protecting trade routes from, say, the Suez or the African coast through to Asia. And this is really important in light of China. China imports 75% of its food, or the means of growing its food, about the same proportion for its own energy. And because of the US and Japanese Navy, it can't get access to the Pacific should things get tense politically and diplomatically. So its routes are going to be through the Indian Ocean, and it will try to project power that way. And if you want to be able to protect your own assets and deny them to the Chinese, should we ever get into conflict, think invasion of Taiwan, expansion or attacks upon Japan, Korea, etc., then you need to be able to close off those routes, deny them access to energy and food production. And you can't do that unless you have a base there. Now, although we do retain the base under the deal with Mauritians, why do we need to pay £10 billion for the right to do so? And how come the Labour government was so naive to have done this in the first place? Well, naive is exactly the point. If you look at the Labour Party, if you look at how it's made up and its members, they're largely, and by largely I mean almost entirely, made up of PPE graduates who wouldn't know a strategic interest if it came and punched them on the nose. And so we end up with this situation where now they're having to roll back on a potential treaty that they've signed but not yet ratified, and delayed ratification as a result of the current furore, which is going to be very embarrassing all round. To make it clear, even if they do end up ratifying this agreement, it will not live. Even if this government doesn't walk away from it, I guarantee you a future one will. Whether it's the next government or one after, at some point, a UK government is going to say, no, we are tearing this deal up, with all the consequences that will have for diplomatic relations, both with the Mauritians and more widely the rest of the world. Why? Because of our commitment to the US, and there's absolutely no way the US is going to give up its rights to that base. And if the deal finally expires in 99 years' time or wherever, and it's time to hand back the base to Mauritius, the US is simply going to say no. That's realpolitik, that's what's going to happen. And if the US says they're going to give it back, somebody else will come along, someone more powerful than Mauritius, and take it because it's just too damn strategically important. So this deal was naive in the extreme. But the fact that they couldn't see it just goes to show how unsuitable this Labour government is for anything when it comes to strategic interest, defence, and understanding the real world. Now, Donald Trump's actions recently have given everyone a wake-up call and signalled the fact that the international norms, international law that exists is indeed unenforceable. It only works if everyone agrees that it works, because there's no one around to enforce it. In Britain's case, in the case of the Chagos Islands, if Britain were to walk away now, either before ratification or tear it up after, the only recourse that the Mauritians would have is to go to the United Nations. And if the United Nations were to endorse the Mauritius position and say there was a Security Council motion that said force was allowed to take it back, well, force from who? The Mauritians? They're not going to do anything. The Indians are further north, but they're unlikely to do anything either. The Russians are Chinese? No. And of course, Britain has a veto of the Security Council, so it's unenforceable. And the fact that Starmer and the Labour government completely failed to take into account the fact that this may be illegal under existing treaties, defence treaties, is just sheer incompetence. And as I said, the reason why I bring this up now is because it's in the media, on the papers. This will be the 14th or 15th U-turn, depending on how you do it. And most of these U-turns were entirely self-inflicted. When you have to change your mind, you usually do so as a result of three things. The first is that there is new evidence. Evidence has come to light that you didn't have access to before, which suggests there was a better way of doing things. And that's all well and good. You should act on new evidence. You should change your mind if evidence suggests there's a better way. The other reason why policy changes and you do U-turn is because events change. Think pandemic, wars, sudden external changes you have no control over that mean that priorities change and that you either don't have the money to do what you're going to do or what you're going to do makes things worse. Again, it's a good idea to change your mind then. The third reason why you have to change your mind is because the plan was a bad one to start with. You didn't think things through, or you only looked at the technical aspects of it. Is this possible? Rather than the realpolitik, as in, can I get away with it? And the fact that this government does not learn its lessons and keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake is frankly embarrassing. So, are we due for 3 more years of these unforced errors? Well, given the makeup of the government in terms of the individuals and talent there, I fear so. Let me know what you think. Cheers for now.